What's up guys, welcome back to another video. I actually planned to film this video yesterday, but the day before yesterday we had a pretty intense storm come by and it left quite a bit of damage on my property, and I was left dealing with that yesterday, and we're still dealing with it actually. I'll show some clips of it in the next video. So those limbs out there, that's a little bit of it, but not even close to all of it. But anyways, so as you guys can tell by the title of this video, basically, I want to talk about some things of what you really need to know if you're thinking about getting a Flowerhorn, or if you know you're about to get one, just so you can kind of have a heads up on some things. And I'm also going to call out some internet BS on them, because I feel like there's some misleading things on them that you may see or you may hear on the internet, and a lot of times that stuff is coming from people who have never even had a Flowerhorn. So just to let you know about that. So if you're a viewer of the channel, you know that I do have a Flowerhorn. I've had him now for roughly 2.5 years, and when I first got him, actually, he was only about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. I started him out in a 10-gallon, then he grew a little bit, then I moved him to a 30-gallon, then he grew a little bit more, and now he's in a 56-gallon, and he's not quite full grown yet, but he's definitely grown a lot since I've gotten him. It's actually a pretty fast growing fish, and obviously, as you probably well know, they get pretty darn big as well, and are also pretty darn aggressive. Now, 2.5 years ago, I was younger, and I just wanted to get a Flowerhorn. I did not care where I got it from. I just wanted a Flowerhorn because I thought they were a cool fish. They looked cool, they were mean. It fitted the description of a fish that I wanted to get. So I went searching around in my city for any pet store, any fish store that might have one. And it's kind of surprising where I found my Flowerhorn at. I actually got him from PetSmart. They had some that were about his size, like 1 or 2 of them, around 20-25 bucks, and I just ended up getting one. Let me just say that if you're really wanting to get a good looking, like higher quality Flowerhorn, PetSmart and really no other pet store is the place to get them, because most pet stores don't even carry them. And this is coming from someone who works at a pet store. I can tell you that if we order somebody a Flowerhorn, which we can do, we do special orders, we can get them a Flowerhorn, but there's no guarantee of what it's going to look like. So really the best place, if you're wanting to get a Flowerhorn, is to go and find a breeder, somebody who just breeds Flowerhorns, and this is basically all that they do. Honestly, eBay is a pretty good place to find Flowerhorns at, pretty high quality Flowerhorns. Now, my Flowerhorn has always been kept by themselves, and you'll see some people on YouTube or other places, they may have a Flowerhorn mixed in with a big South American cichlid tank with other big cichlids, and that might work. And in all honesty, if you start one out small like mine was when I got him, with other fish, and grow them up like that, they tend to not be quite as aggressive. However, I actually do believe that they don't express all their colors that they would if you were keeping them by themselves. But if they are being kept by themselves, especially long term, they probably are going to be quite a bit more aggressive, and once they get up to a big size, you're probably not going to be able to put any fish with them, like no catfish or even a pleco with them. And that perfectly describes my Flowerhorn. My Flowerhorn literally has attacked me several times before, has drawn blood, and in all honesty, when I go to siphon his tank, it's a deep tank. It's a 56-gallon, so my siphon actually does not reach the bottom of the tank without me having to put my hand in there. And the funny thing is he doesn't attack the siphon. He just attacks by hand. Like, it does not matter what area of the tank I'm working in. If I have to get in there and adjust something, I have to like distract him with one hand and then use the other hand to do whatever I gotta do. So I have to literally attach something else to the end of the siphon and use that to get to the bottom of the tank. And it also is a bare bottom tank, so that does make it a lot easier to siphon. I feel like the biggest thing with Flowerhorns is how big they get, because I mean, they do actually grow really fast and get really big. And I'm going to be honest though, they really don't need a huge tank. If you're keeping one all by themselves, something like a 56-gallon or a 65-gallon is actually a pretty ideal tank for a close to full-grown Flowerhorn. Cubed shaped tanks that are pretty tall and have a pretty big depth in them are actually pretty ideal tanks for most Flowerhorns. You know, a 75-gallon is alright, but really a 4-foot tank, you don't need something that long for a Flowerhorn. They like something pretty deep and pretty tall actually, so something more cube shaped than rectangular shape is probably actually a little more ideal, and also doesn't take up as much space. And from an overall broad perspective, a Flowerhorn's really not a difficult fish to keep if you get a really healthy one. The biggest thing with them that can be difficult, like I said, is getting someone to dedicate a one specific tank to one fish, because a lot of times people, they want to get a tank, and even if they want to do big fish, they want to do multiple big fish in there. So like I said, keeping a Flowerhorn all by themselves is really the better option, because they tend to show more of their colors, but they do get more aggressive. And I think getting someone to just put aside one big tank for one fish can be kind of difficult for some people. But the other aspect of them, as far as how adaptable they are, like, they have a pretty broad temperature range, I'm gonna be honest, and if the pH gets kind of low or the ammonia gets kind of high, you'll kind of start to notice, because they tend to not be as active and they may kind of darken up in their colors, but it usually is not going to affect them like it does some other really sensitive fish like neon tetras or discus. So in all honesty, from a broad perspective, they're not that hard of a fish to keep. However, with that being said, it's not a fish I would recommend to someone who has never kept a fish before. So if you're new to it and you've never had a tank before, or it's been a long time, it's probably better that you start off with some tetras, some guppies, some barbs, kind of get the grasp of just keeping fish for a few months, and then maybe try out something like a Flowerhorn, because it is a very big investment when you go into a Flowerhorn fish, because some of them can be very, very expensive. Now, when it comes to food, they'll eat a lot of things. Actually, they're a carnivore, so any high protein pellet, like I feed mine high-calorie cichlid gold pellets, and also actually a little bit more of the high-calorie sticks. They tend to be a little more higher in protein, and he tends to like them a little bit better. They tend to fill them up a little bit more. And that's another thing, they tend to eat a lot. Like, they will eat a lot of food and just stuff themselves full of food. I know when I first got mine, when he was itty bitty, I started him out with just some bloodworms, and then I started working in some smaller pellets. And every once in a while, if you want to feed them some live food like some ghost shrimp or even some rosy reds here and there, is not bad for them. But as a main thing to stick to, I would probably find a high quality pellet, maybe 2 of them, kind of switch it up. Also, krill is really, really good for them. They tend to like that a lot as well. So really anything that's full of protein and high quality, they're going to like. I know I already talked about the tank size, but in all honesty, a bare bottom tank is really ideal for a bigger Flowerhorn, because they poop a lot since they eat a lot, and it makes it a lot easier to clean up after them and siphon and all that. And you can just have 1 or maybe 2 just big decorations in there, or big rocks or driftwood or something like that. That's really it. And filtration, when it comes to that, have a good filter on there. Don't have some janky filter on there that isn't putting out a bunch of flow and really should be on a tank smaller than you have it on. If you have a full-grown Flowerhorn, and let's say a 65 gallon, you could do something like a dual 350 hang on the back would be fine. On my 56 gallon, I've actually got a Fluval 307, very quiet filter, but it is an ideal filter for that size of a tank, and it keeps the water very, very clear. And like I said, they have a pretty broad temperature range. They're very, very flexible when it comes to that, but they do tend to like the water a little bit warmer, so having a good heater in there is good. They tend to like it, really in the upper 70s, kind of low 80s type range. That's pretty much it though, man. Those are some of the basic things when it comes to keeping a Flowerhorn. The 3 biggest things to know is that they get really big, they make a big mess, and they're really, really mean. Those are the 3 most common things with all Flowerhorns. Even though not all of them are the same, they don't always behave the same, and they definitely don't always look the same, but most all Flowerhorns generally are going to be a very aggressive and a fish that gets really, really big. And that comes from the 2 fish that they come from, because they are a hybrid cichlid. If you guys have any other questions though, you can leave them down below in the comments, or you can DM me on Instagram at fishing_pf, and I will happily answer any other questions that you have about getting a Flowerhorn, or about your Flowerhorn, because you may already have one. Thank you guys for watching. As always though, I think I'll be getting the guppies for the outdoor guppy pond in the next video. I think I finally made my mind up on what strain I want to get this year. Be sure to drop a like on the video, and also subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. And with that being said, I will catch all of you guys in the next video. Peace.